All right. So to pick up where we were last time, what I want to do is try to create some kind of cylinder, okay, to go right here. We've already kind of got a little bit of a cylinder going on right here, okay, but we're going to approach this a little differently, okay. So we're going to I think what I'm going to do is actually make a hole here and have a cylinder kind of sticking through it, okay. Now, with this, what's important, again, is your eye level. All right, so these vanishing points, create our eye level. So if I was looking at this roll of tape straight on like this, and it was on my eye level, right? And if I went above this, then that tape would start to look like this. And as further and further I went up, it would start to open up more and more. So if I go below my eye level, then this would start to open up this way. So I see down on the top of it, and I see down more and more, right? So what's going to happen is, since this area right here is kind of close to the horizon line, or our eye level, it'll probably be looking about like that kind of shape, okay? Now, we haven't really practiced ellipses in here, and I'm going to show you real quick what a good and a bad ellipse looks like, and in terms of how to create one. So I'm going to flip this over, and I'm just going to demonstrate real quick. All right. So here's what a bad ellipse looks like. It's got the arc, and it's got the arc down here, but look what happens on the ends, right? They get pinched, okay? They're pinched, kind of like a football, right? It is symmetrical, top to bottom and left to right, which an ellipse should be, but is pinched. And then the other bad thing I often see, the students will draw something flat, then kind of circle-like on the ends, and then flat on the bottom, and then circled on the other end. So there's just too much of kind of a curve, like a circle, and then just kind of flat. So something kind of like that. That too also is symmetrical, top to bottom, left to right, which is good. It's just not quite capturing that shape yet. Now, what a good ellipse really looks like, now another bad ellipse is just something kind of like that, okay, where it just looks all kind of wonky and flimsy and organic and not symmetrical. Okay, it's not symmetrical top to bottom or left to right. Okay. Remember, we're trying to represent a circle. Okay. So it should have some amount of precision to it. So if I arc the top and kind of put this really sharp curve on the ends, like that, and then I can complete that by then dipping down and creating an echo of this arc except flipped, right? So that's what a good ellipse looks like, okay? Occurs many, 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 many times in our man-made environment. If I look up these lights, or even the stools that you're sitting on, that's what I see, okay? All right, so that occurs a lot in our man-made environment. So you can tell the difference between these, okay? All right, okay? All right, so let's make an ellipse right on this surface. Now, sometimes when I do this, I will, kind of lightly do something, kind of sketch it in there a little bit. You just kind of do what you feel best. I kind of start with something kind of real light and kind of sketchy. And I'll kind of look at that and I'll be like, yeah, that's a good shape, good size. Now let me just kind of draw over that and make my ellipse. Now I want it to look like it's sitting on this surface, all right? And the shape of the ellipse I create is what determines that. If I made it more circular and larger, it wouldn't look like it would fit on this surface. Because then it would look like as if it was more below my eye level than what this plane really represents. This plane looks pretty close to my eye level. I'm talking about this surface right here. Therefore, this should be pretty enclosed or foreshortened, as you see here. Okay? So I'll hold that close. So this is not going to any vanishing points. Okay? Right now, we're not dealing with vanishing points. But if I drew a line across this way, it should be horizontal. Okay? This shouldn't be cockeyed. This shouldn't look like as if it's kind of cockeyed. This should look like as if it's running left to right. Okay? In order to look like it's really on that surface. Now, what if I want to draw like it's a hole? Okay? And like there's a cylinder sticking through that. Okay? Now, I don't need that line. I'm just using that as a reference. Alright, so if I want to make this look like a hole and like there's like a cylinder sticking through it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler and line it up vertically. And I'm not going to go all the way to the end of that. Okay, so take a look right here. I'm leaving a gap. I'm leaving a gap right there. Okay? So I'm going to line my ruler up vertically. And I'm going to extend this up above, somewhere pretty high, and then down below so that it comes out somewhere below here. Okay, so take a look what I did. Remember, there's a little gap right there. That's really important. There's a little gap. It comes down to below, and it goes above, pretty far above our eye level. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to turn my paper this way just so I can see it a little better. And I'm going to repeat that gap. Draw that line vertically, upward and downwards. So now I have something like that. Now right now the illusion is not quite there yet, mainly because it looks transparent. Now I go back and erase these lines. Everything starts to come together. Okay. So now I've created an illusion just by using shapes. Okay. Now it looks like as if I got some sticking through that. Now, my cylinder doesn't quite look like a cylinder right now because I haven't got the ends completed. And also, if I'd done some shading on this, I could really make this look kind of rounded. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to clean this up a little bit, is now I got to draw my top and bottom to this. Now that's tricky. Okay, that's pretty tricky stuff. Okay. And really, what you need to do is draw another ellipse at the top and the bottom. Now, since this is not near my eye level anymore, that's going to start to kind of open up quite a bit. Okay, so we're going to start to open up on this ellipse quite a bit this way, and then also this way. Okay, so what I'm going to do is try to, I drew that up pretty high, didn't I? Let me extend this up a little bit further. Of course, I might want to put something there in the future, but extend it up a little bit. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw an ellipse that kind of touches those edges. Okay, I'm just going to kind of, again, kind of sketch in a shape first and kind of get my initial size and shape kind of going here. And then we'll start to draw it in. So this is going to be a smaller one in terms of it now has to touch the edges of these vertical lines. Okay, so you can see what I've done there. Now it looks clear, and it looks like as if we're looking down on top of it. Okay, it looks like we're looking down on top of it. Now, y'all are going to have to photograph and turn this in for a grade, by the way. Okay, this demonstration is for a grade. All right. So, so what I'm going to do is erase this part right here, and now it'll look like as if this is above my eye level. Okay, then I'm also going to erase those two little parts. Okay. I'm not just doing this for my own good. Y'all are doing this for a grade. This is easy stuff. All you got to do is just follow along. Some of you are still just hooked on your devices. Almost like you're still at home or something. Not home anymore. Not in your pajamas. Not in your bedroom. In a classroom. I'm demonstrating you're supposed to be following along, okay? Not on your video games, doing whatever. All right, so I've got the top. Now I need to do the bottom, okay? All right. Basically the same process. Now I could just draw the top part of the ellipse and not have to draw the whole ellipse. I find this really helps me to get that shape right. So now I've got that. All I need to do is erase this part of it. I don't need that anymore. Now I'm going to flip this paper over and demonstrate something real quick about this. I think I demonstrated a little bit of it last week when we did that arch as well. But I think it's worth repeating. Okay, so there's the bottom one. There's the top. So now it looks like I got this sort of rod cylinder sort of sticking through this plane. Okay? And really I pulled that off with ellipses and also leaving a little gap right there. And plus making ellipses that look like as if they're appropriate to our eye level. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you something that would look, I kind of demonstrated this last week when I did that. But I'm going to demonstrate real quick what this could look like in a bad way. Let's say I was going to draw like the top of this, kind of like I was doing with the with this right here. Let me show you what a bad one would look like. Okay, so what's wrong with this is these corners. It's about like what was wrong with this. It's like you got this kind of corner, okay? it really shouldn't look like that. Remember last week I was really showing you how to get this nice kind of on-ramp, off-ramp like you're on the freeway, right? Where something just veers off its path and joins onto another path. That's what should be happening right here. So how can we fix that? So if I race that, right, and then I was like I'm driving down the highway, high rate of speed, I start to exit off the off-ramp slightly, slow down my speed, start to turn, and then I start to merge with the other part of the freeway I'm lining up with, and then drive into it. So at no point does it look like I have to stop and turn. I just kind of continue my path. Okay, very different look. I don't know if that still quite gets it, but at least that part. Okay, so that's something really important that I think is worth spending some time describing and talking about. Okay, all right, because it happens a lot. Okay, you just can't avoid it. So the next big thing we need to do. Okay, so far what we've covered that you're going to have to do in your project is you're going to have to do a compound shape. We've done that. We've took this shape and added this shape to it, and therefore it's compounded. We've created a cylinder or an arc. We've created a cylinder, which is an ellipse in there. But now we're going to create some steps right here. We got a nice place right here to create some steps. Okay. Now steps, it can be pretty difficult stuff. Okay, but if you kind of figure out the basic logic of it, it's not that bad. All right. So just follow along. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to say somewhere along this surface right here, our steps start to begin. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, all right, let's do this. Let's start with sort of a straight line vertical, which we could erase later, but we got to get our spacing first. Okay, we got to get our spacing. So here's what we're going to do: is let's draw a line vertical, going straight down, such as this. Okay, coming down from the side of our plane right here. Just draw a line straight down, coming down. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to determine the height of these steps right here on this line. Okay, so I'm going to have to just sort of say our first step height is going to be about this high. Okay, I'm just putting a little dot right there on that line to determine the height of our step. Okay. So I put a little dot right there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to repeat this length. Okay, this length that I have here. I'm going to put another dot below it, and then another dot below that, another dot below that, another dot below that, another dot below that, until I run out of line here. Okay. I just want to repeat that length. Now I could measure, but I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm just going to come down through here, put little dots. And that just happens to kind of end right there on that. I could stop my steps right there, and it actually would look pretty good. But I'm just going to go further down. Just so we have a lot of steps here.